All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Miguel on the radio. Today is the 3rd of September, 2025, 5 o'clock. We are here in the Polish capital, Warsaw. Miguel on the radio is not alone. We have a special guest, and we're very happy because the show brings surprises. And I've been announcing this guest for a while. She has been done work with migrants for a long time. Her name is Gwinea Bissau, and she works with foreigners and migrants. She helps them. She works with the school as well that teaches migrants and foreigners Polish language. She helps them with any legal issues they might have. And I'm very happy to have her here. Hello, Czeczenia.
Hi, Miguel. Thank you.
Welcome to the show. All good?
Great to be here. It's actually a great way to celebrate my 24 years in Poland. Just striking today. That was long ago that I arrived here, and that was not the time that policy was there on the migrant side, and that was not yet an issue. Nobody was going to Poland back in 2001. That was quite a great time for Poland, not yet full of positive moods related to joining EU. It was rather a country to leave than to come. So that was a really rainy day. I arrived to Łódź in 2001, and that was the first city of Poland I've been living at. Just to get to know my background, it's quite important to say I'm myself from Belarus, and that's why I'm doing the job I'm doing.
2021, that's a long journey. 2001. Yeah. 2001, a long journey living in Poland, first in Łódź. What brought you to this country, coming from Belarus, Czeczenia?
I was going to start my studies over here. I was a scholar of a Polish embassy, which was granted, the scholarship was granted to the Polish people with Polish roots. And that time in 2001, I was lucky to get my scholarship for a 3-year period. And which was the city which was hosting, as now they're doing, students who were learning Polish in order to continue their higher education in Poland. With me, that was just 1 month that I have spent in Łódź, and later on I've moved to Warsaw, where I've started my studies at the University of Warsaw, Faculty of Social Applied Sciences, which later on brought me to my career and to my area of both professional and scientific interest, which is supporting migrants in the new country and also supporting the realization of their social rights. And that's actually since 2006, when I've graduated, that I'm into Foundation for Development Beyond Borders, which is proudly representing foreigners and supporting them on all stages of their legal issues, legal procedures, starting from their first visa up to the point they get Polish passport. That's sometimes a long story.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful to know your background. We have also another special guest. It's a he or is a she?
He, and he's Przesław.
It's a small, little, cute, little doggy, and we love to have a mascot on the show. So yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, but hopefully to the end of the show, I'll be able to. It's a very nice, very cute dog.
The short is Plush.
Plush. Oh, I can do that.
And that one is quite easy because it's like both Polish, English, or if you would tend to speak Russian, that would be still Plush, and that's still how he looks, so it's quite easy to guess.
Plush, iди sюда, Plush, iди sюда.
He's Polish.
Very nice, very nice. Okay. So, Gwinea, what's the most common issue with migrants when they come to Poland? What's the struggle? What's the most common struggle?
It depends. That greatly depends on where they do come from, what's the reason they come from, which moment, on the political agenda they come at, what are the people supporting them, so who are they with, and it also depends on their age, on your citizenship, on your educational background, on if you are good at making connections and networking, or if you're rather introvertic. So all those things can influence. It depends on your family status, it depends on your income, it depends on how well off you are in terms of maintaining your stay, and if you can really support yourself without being in a legal labor market for a while. So all those things influence the situation. I would not say they're common issues, because on a daily basis I'm having meetings with people from very different backgrounds, and those are not just different countries, those are different reasons, those are different motivations to stay, and those are very different backgrounds. And Polish legislation is not very easy as well. We have almost 70 types of legal paths into temporary residence, and also beyond that we are also having some types of visas, and we also have paths for people who are seeking for international protection, and bundles of rights and obligations people tend to connect with the status is huge, and the conscious about those is not always sufficient to maintain the stay. So the stereotypical expectation of migrants shared through other migrants of different background is often not just not supportive, but even harmful, because they have some misinterpretations. That's one part. So a kind of conscious of your very peculiar situation and your peculiar possibility to plan something in Poland. That's the one thing which people do not really pay enough attention to. Another part is that we are facing really tough bureaucratic burden in Poland. It takes too much time, it takes too much effort, not everything is digitalized, so that takes you a long, long way to plan your future, to bring all the documents, and they could be lost in the process, which could also happen is that procedures are much more longer than we would be expecting them to be, and thus people are changing their lifestyle in the meanwhile. So those things can happen, like you reach 18 years within the course of the events of the procedure, and then all of a sudden you get new expectations to fulfill. You need to fulfill completely new criteria to get your residence permit. And then it's not just about temporary residence permit. Those things also face people who are into their long-term residency of EU, those people who are looking for settlement permits. It's also the case of people who are submitting for the citizenship of Poland. And it's quite possible that in the course of those procedures, legislation could also be changed, which is the case on a regular basis. So I'm working with this issue since 2006, and I would never expect that we would experience such rapid changes as we did this year, which is just a record setter in terms of how many things have changed and how drastic they were for the foreigners who are already staying here, and how toughly they have changed the way people have to plan their futures. So it's not an easy path.
Oh.
But what happens most often is that people don't really have enough documents to fulfill all the conditions they're expected to, and then I just carefully go through the case to find out what was already done, what needs still to be done, and what could be done just in case to protect the individual in case of misinterpretation by inspectors, which is quite often a problem, in case of political changes and legal changes due to that, either in case of changes in the individual situations, like, for example, somebody is quitting the job, or somebody is getting married, or somebody is getting pregnant, and all of a sudden that's not just one kid but a triple, and that all influences your possibility of legal stay.
Oh wow. So it is not just bureaucratic but complex and a constant change system.
Yes, it's very dynamic, and at every part of that process you have to pay you just not only have to pay attention to the legislation in force, but also to potential changes both in individual's life and in political agenda. And just taking it all into consideration, you can go through the process in a more predictable manner.
Wow, Gwinea, I'm from Brazil. I've been living in Poland for a year and a half. I have Italian roots, citizenship. My mother family comes from Italy to Brazil, migrated, and through a very bureaucratic process, I was able to get my passport. The system made it almost impossible to get it, but I went through it, and at the time, that was 2015. I didn't have a lawyer or anything. I just went to Italy by myself with all the documents in my hands, and I went through alone, and somehow I was able to do it. And I can relate on going to a country where you basically don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, and you're trying to maneuver the system. Yes, it can be terrifying to some people. It can be scary. Yeah.
It's just not just scary, it's also quite traumatic in the course of the events, because you're coming to a new country. You are expecting to make any kind of investment into both your social life, into economically, you're also making a huge investment. You are taking lots of risks in many areas. You are getting rid of your former life, and all of a sudden you face plenty of risks, and some of them are not easy for you to predict. Some of them are beyond your consciousness through the whole process, and you just can find out that you also had those types of risks later on. And the very heavy part for many people is that their expectations have been ruined, because that's not the life they've been expecting. And that's very often that I see my clients very, very much disappointed with what they have been thinking prior to coming here, and what they have to go through during the process of their legal stay maintenance and getting their temporary residence card or getting their long-term residency, up to the moment when they are almost about to get citizenship, and all of a sudden some of them are a kind of public enemy or something, they're not the ones who are given the citizenship, for example. And those are very traumatic stories, which are not just disappointing, they're ruining your lives. It's also a case of the youngsters who've been deported recently with the political decision, and some of them have been actually taken to the army already. So it's completely not the life they have been expecting. In terms of their individual story, that's definitely a tragedy, and there are many more tragedies just being here, with making people stuck in Poland for a long while, with not seeing families, with not being in position to start their work legally in Poland, with not being in position to plan their mortgage or planning their family. They're completely out of those possibilities just because of being stuck in the bureaucratic pattern, which is just not designed according to the possibilities of the Polish system.
Yeah, I can identify with that, and yeah. Now that you brought it up, I work as I'm a comedian. I am a stand-up comedian. I do this full time in English here in Poland, and I work with foreigners, and I think comedy, it's a way of expressing yourself and letting out what you don't like about society, perhaps making people feel empathy or feel your perspective. Yeah, you open yourself and you criticize the government or the system in a way to bring laughter, yeah, to your case or situation. That's something that you know how it feels, and only you know how it feels because you've been there. And often the case when you go to one of those stand-up shows where foreigners, they live in Poland, there's always the mention of the Karta Pobytu. There's always this Karta Pobytu. Yeah, it's like waiting for the Karta Pobytu. Everything takes so long, and it's waiting for like a Karta Pobytu. And now that you bring this up, it really is something that a lot of foreigners, they look forward. They wait for this Karta Pobytu, yeah, in order to work and etc.
Yeah, so I just send you the video on the YouTube, which is actually a song about Karta Pobytu, which was just recently produced by Ukrainian musicians. So maybe we would have a chance to listen to that. But yes, that's the record I saw, and I've realized you have to be an epic hero to go through the struggle, to wait, to have enough patience to go through that process, to bring all the necessary documents at the proper time, to submit them so that inspectors finally submit it into your case, into your folder, and they're still there by the moment the one who is taking the project of this decision can have and look into that. And then the decision is all of a sudden made correctly without misspelling, because, for example, once my mom came to Poland and I was planning her stay, she was called my minor daughter, which I do not have. I wish I would have a daughter, but not one, and especially not the one born back in 1961. It's impossible. However, that was in her files, and that took us another year to write a complaint and to get the decision after the appeal. So that's how the administration is working, and that's how the algorithms are not still there to recheck on humans' mistakes, while humans who are working in public administration, migration area, I think they're surviving their own individual tragedy of how Poland can be attractive to foreigners from very different types of lives, very different paths and lifestyles with very different opportunities, career changes, visions, family perspectives. And yes, I think it's quite a challenging job. They have to go through the sets of documents under changing legislation without having this internal migrants background to understand why it's all going on. So it's a very challenging process, and also for them, for the inspectors.
I can imagine. So the reality, yes. So you see the people coming from all over the world with different situations, different conditions, and they come with expectations, or sometimes they are realized artists, perhaps coming from other places, or what I see a lot here, that they are talented people, for comedians or artists from different walks of life, yeah, and they come to Poland, and in order to stay in Poland, they need to have a job, because correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like if you are a foreigner in certain situations, and if you are unemployed for more than 3 months, you are not allowed to stay in the country.
That depends on the path you take to legalize your stay. Mm-hmm. As I've mentioned before, it's like around 70 possibilities, and you choose a path. So sometimes it's quite clear which one is yours, but it could happen that you are at the same time, married to one gentleman, getting through the divorce process, working, studying, and maybe you're already in love with another gentleman, and in the meanwhile, possibly you would be a priest at some church which would allow you to, which would not be Catholic one, so it could be not on the list of the Ministry of administration. So all those things could be possibly the path which you take to legalize your stay. And it's quite often that we are facing people who are at this crossroad, in this intersection, that they don't actually know which one they should choose, which one they're eligible to, because sometimes they're almost into that, but not fully enough to succeed. And sometimes they're sufficient to comply, two of them, and they they have to make this choice. Which one and why should they choose? So those are the issues they come up to me with. It's quite often that we are having people who are staying in Poland just basically because of the language courses at Polish Linguistic Institute, because that's also a possible way to stay if it's about obtaining your visa, or if it's about your temporary residence card, which would be issued for 1 year, and that could be the change that could give you sufficient time to maintain your career, to set a company, to work with the context you have, and to somehow plan your future in Poland. So all those paths are available, but it depends, like your citizenship, like if you are into visa-free movement or not, if you really have to be on the move to travel back home or not, or if you can stay here and you have enough patience to stay for a longer while, if you are economically sufficient to start your business here, or if it's not a matter of time and you would probably investments. So all those possibilities should be foreseen once you are planning your future, because it could also be that you have already started the company, but the company is not yet sufficiently growing to maintain your legal stay. And that could be the tragedy. If your legal plan is not working, you cannot stay to develop your company. So many things can also be upsetting at the process if you are not prepared to potential outcomes, if you do not have the plan B for your legal stay procedures. So those things are, they are very much determining who we are and how we act in terms of migrants' lives in Poland, and what are the changes and challenges we undertake, and what are the choices we make.
So 70 different paths to choose from, and people, they need to choose carefully, and they need to plan. And when you say the future, how long is do they need to play? Do they need to plan for the amount of time they want to stay here? If they want to stay for a year, okay, they plan for a year. But if they want to stay longer, they plan for 10 years. If they want to get the citizenship, they plan for more than that. Is that the case?
That's the case. We don't know yet how long we should plan if we are about to get the citizenship with the current propositions, because the proposition which is led by the president right now is that we have first to maintain our long-term stay in terms of settlement permit, either long-term residency of European Union, and only afterwards we need to spend 10 more years to apply for citizenship. That's the proposition right now. Previously, and at the moment, it's 3 years after long-term settlement. And of course, there are groups which have some privileges and preferences, like spouses of Polish citizens, either those who have their Polish roots confirmed, either holders of international protection, so they have a shorter path in a way. But it could also happen that you are not planning your full time in Poland. It could happen that you are just here because of your contract, which is like 5-year contract, and you would finish that. It could happen that you are here just for your bachelor studies, and you are sure you want to go back because probably your family is waiting for you back in China. Or maybe that's the case that you are here just for one academic year because all of a sudden you're an Erasmus Plus student and you are just here for an exchange process. However, you need to submit for your residency permit, even it would not be on time. So just to maintain your legal stay in Poland. Those are very, very different options. It could happen that you are submitting even though you are leaving the 2 days after your visa expires, and it's just to maintain your stay. However, that brings statistic numbers in terms of how many procedures have to start, and if you do not finish your procedure, if you do not cancel that, it's still proceeded. So that's plenty of work coming into the hands of the bureaucratic officials. In Mazovian voivodeship, that's quite a busy one. However, it could be even worse, for example, with the Down Silesian voivodeship, where you have cases which take over 2 years to be proceeded, and it's not the highest number. I think it should be in a Guinness book to check the records of how long it takes. I think the person who connected us, he was the one who was experiencing a stay of 7 years just to maintain his temporary residence card. So it could also happen to be that way. And with the controls coming in the offices, it could happen that it's even longer. So there are cases of people who've been waiting for 9 years for their temporary residence cards.
9 years. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. It is the case. I was talking to an artist here that very talented and he wanted to pursue his career as an artist, but he cannot because he needs to focus in work, and if he loses his job, he has the risk of being deported or losing his legal state in Poland. So there are plenty of cases like that are more complex, and it's a very sensitive thing as well. It keeps foreigners with a concern, with a constant worry. If the system is going to change, or what's going to be the future, or am I going to get my permit or my residency card, or what's going to happen? There's always this uncertainty. Yeah. When do you think that ends?
It depends. It could be the moment when you are fed up with the public administration and you just know statistically it's not your peculiar case, but that's just how it's working. It could be the moment when you are getting married to someone and this type of residency permit, which is basing on your spouse, is actually almost guaranteed and you are sure you will get the next one. It could happen that for some people, the naturalization process, once they get either citizenship or maybe sometimes long-term residence permit, which is lifelong actually, they give this feeling of, success and at the same time some kind of happiness that they don't have to come back to submit their next application for the temporary residence card. For some people, I've heard from a client, the fact that procedures last that long already gives them some kind of certainty that there is a future, at least for a couple of months, And in those couple of months, they can succeed with some, new decisions, new work offers, some new opportunities to stay, or maybe with earning some more money to, to make some changes, like, starting new educational path, or going through some course, or starting some internship. That really depends a lot. For some people, that was also the moment they have found out that they have Polish roots. With one of my clients, it was 15 years after he arrived to Poland that he found that his grandfather actually is Polish. So he was just, he was not expecting that, and he just found those documents back at home once he was in Belarus. So that could be the story as well. It's very different. For some people, it's a constant worry of how they're going to do if they lose the job, or if they cannot really maintain sufficient income for their family, and what happens if they're not just them, but their family members, like their partner or their children, they are not in position to get their next step in terms of submitting for the residence permit and actually obtaining it. For many people, this uncertainty leads also to choosing some kind of form of legal stay, which is more predictable, like with situations of many Belarusians who were working in Poland, but with the events going on in Belarus, they've decided to move also for international protection, because that gave them a chance of kind of relief in terms of planning their future for the upcoming periods. So that could be the change. For some people, that the change comes after they confirm their knowledge of Polish as a foreign language, because that grants them the chance to get the long-term residency, either citizenship. So that also, that's a barrier. They overcome it and they feel calm. Yes, that's how it works for some people. For some people, it comes with the sufficient income when they feel like they can actually afford their staying in Poland for a while, because their business has already developed, even though they have to go through the process again and again. So it's very, very different. It's quite individual and subjective.
Ksenia, yes. Let's say a person that arrived in Poland with any of those options, and different solutions, different bureaucratic procedures, and somehow found themselves stuck or afraid. Someone that perhaps became an illegal migrant in Poland, and it is without knowing what to do. What's the best path for a person that is listening to us that perhaps found themselves illegal in Poland, for them to find the best way forward?
Under the current law on foreigners, there is a path to legalize your stay, even if your stay is irregular at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not 100% guaranteed that you would get this type of permit. But if your particular situation demands your stay in Poland further on, maybe because of your illness, maybe because of your family situation, maybe because of the pending cases in the courts, or maybe because of some broader public interest, that could be proceeded and the residence permit could be granted. In some cases, that's about your family relationships as well, and that's like not particularly the same case. It could also happen that people who have Polish roots, they can submit for their residence permits even afterwards their stay is already irregular. So for some of them, it's a matter of not going back home at all, because they just don't have a chance to move out of their country and they're afraid to go there. So those are very different scenarios depending on, again, private story. And those are very different stories and very different paths. Some people in a regular status just meet their loved ones and that helps them out. It could happen that they have their families here, and that's also a path towards legal stay. Those are very, very particular situations, and each case should be, investigated separately. So it's not just, one size criteria and one size recipe for that, because all those could go very differently.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. But I think finding somehow information, is the key, to know which steps to take to regularize your situation, whether you're a student or you come from all parts of Africa, from Zimbabwe, for instance, well, and you want to somehow find, going back to regularity, going back to the system after being, after just leaving, becoming illegal somehow, and just information. Where to find this information? Where should one go to find help?
I don't really believe that at the current stage of development of the legislation, one could completely get out of a regular limbo without external support of practitioners, because the things which are set in legislation, they do not really work as they're supposed to. So the one who would need to find out the path out of irregularity would definitely need to find somebody who is a practitioner, who is doing a lot of cases on a daily mode, to find out what are the cornerstones and what are the milestones on the way, and what could be actually done in this particular case, because it's not an easy scenario, and it's not just that you read the law on foreigners, which is like, over almost 300 pages, and then you have some extra documents, and you just read that, and that would help you out. Unfortunately, it's not that transparent anymore. I think it's like 10 years by now that we're not in a situation when the law and regulations and the practice go on the same speed. We have very different provisions, and the practices are not fulfilling the provisions under the legislation. And the worst part of that is that actually you cannot go to the court with that, because it was the provision which came under COVID, and later on it was maintained with the law and support of Ukrainian citizens due to war, which foreigners cannot claim their rights on prolonged procedures just because of not sufficient staffing of the voivodeship offices, where they do not have enough bureaucrats to go through their cases. So you cannot actually appeal to the courts with prolonged cases.
Wow. So, Gwinea, with all your information, studies, and experience, how would you not compare, but how would you describe Poland within the big picture of the EU in terms of bureaucracy, and particularly foreigner bureaucracy like migration and these kind of things? Where is Poland in the big picture?
Very interesting question, because now it's like with all the changes in force, I don't know yet this year. Starting from, let's say, March, I don't feel really confident how far have we made the progress in terms of access to labor market. There were certain steps which made it easier, but at the same time we are developing quite unique path of xenophobic migration policy, which is not letting people realize their full potential in Poland, even if that is not economic and demographic potential, which is 100% beneficial for Poland as a country, for Polish economy, for Polish society. So I'm not really sure where we are in terms of how far we respond to the needs of the Polish economy, Polish society, Polish labor market. So that's very uncertain for me at the moment, because I'm feeling like Poland is losing plenty of chances and plenty of possibilities. And that was, for example, with the students with this year who were encouraged to go through the Polish language exam at B2 level to get to the universities, which the provisions just emerged on the 1st of August. And the certificates had to be delivered to the universities by the 1st of October, which is like no way you can actually fix it under the current provisions. And there are no certificate modes which could help those youngsters to fix the documents on time, even if they were, steady to start the process on the 1st of August, which they're in the course of their vacations, right? So there are many things which are not going in terms of the speed, because it takes too long to integrate in Poland in terms of naturalization process. While, for example, in Sweden, you would go through the 5-year course, and that would be your full path to naturalization. In Poland, by now, it's already taken 10 years, and that would take 10 years more or at least 7 years more with the new propositions. So that's a very lengthy, and I would say even the most bureaucratic, that I would be correct to say it, because already at the moment we are next to Austria in terms of how many conditions one has to fulfill to maintain naturalization process. It will get even harsher, so we are on the top. We are on the top, but in terms of how much conditions foreigners have to fulfill, not in terms of how much country benefits out of the people who are coming, and there are plenty of people coming. Recently I found out that we are having very different stage of development when I've realized that it's not anymore Polish visa, which is an entry ticket to other countries of European Union. It's already other visas which are a ticket to enter Poland, because consular sections are not always providing enough slots to enable people to submit for Polish visas. And it's often that foreigners are coming to Poland with visas issued by different countries. Many of them are touristic visas, like many of them are coming from the countries which traditionally have been, encouraging tourists to come. And those are the people who start their path in Poland with these types of visas, just because consular sections are not staffed enough and do not have enough slots to provide.
Oh wow!
So it's like it's a very different path than it was, like, let's say even 10 years ago, when Poland was already very popular, but Polish visa was available.
Wow, Jenny, yeah, that's that's a perspective that I think a lot of people that don't know. Maybe the locals or Polish nationals, they don't even realize how hard it is to come or to leave or to have a regular stay here. It doesn't matter what you want to do, what's your purpose, if you want to build a business, if you want to invest, if you want to actually add something culturally or more financial benefits to the country. There are many boundaries, and that keeps a lot of opportunities away, big opportunities at times, businesses and investors and corporations and opportunities to grow as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that at the moment we are facing like quite a lot of welfare chauvinism towards policies regulating migrants' social rights, and it's quite often that migrants are not treated as good as citizens are treated, even though they are contributing not least. And sometimes it even takes more to live in Poland, in terms of your renting a flat, in terms of transportation tickets back and forth to come to Poland, and all those things related to your, for example, access to healthcare, access to education, language courses, again, your visa process. So all those things actually cost, and some of them are benefiting directly the government, while the others are benefiting either Polish companies or directly Polish citizens, like, for example, flat rent, right? So those are the things which are at the moment in a risk of decrease. As less foreigners are coming here, probably less flats would be rented out, and probably less workers would arrive, and then less taxes would be paid. Under demographic conditions of Poland, I think it's not a beneficial part of the story, but that was the vector of the politics since a couple of years that we're facing in response towards visa affair. I don't know if you remember, it was probably before you came, and didn't touch you directly, but that was a case of current government politicians attacking the previous governing party in terms of their quite liberal access to, like, the efforts to give more visas out. So earlier, the more visas were given, those were the achievements. Now it's faced other way around, like the less visas we give, the better country we are, like we are taking care of not having too many foreigners. That's a new, like, vector of changes and new vector of the politics.
And Gina, you are related to a school. Yes, tell us a little bit about the school, please.
Okay. Yeah. That have all started in 2006, that the Foundation for Development of Beyond Borders has started, and then in 2009, when we have started the language courses for foreigners in Warsaw, that was just across the road here at Górskiego Street, just the next neighborhood here. We had just 2 rooms, and we had plenty of people who were eager to learn Polish. At that time, there were not so many schools offering any Polish language courses. We were happy to provide this opportunity with the support of European Funds project. So we could offer free of charge language courses, and that was the very basic point when we have just developed this service to accompany our legal services in terms of providing people with the chances, like with the information, but sometimes also with the support and representation in public administration towards their legal stay procedures. Later on, the school was growing successfully. We unfortunately didn't have sufficient funding through the whole process, but we developed paid courses, which are still very democratic in terms of prices, and we're trying our really best to maintain really good quality in terms of having our teachers prepared with the program, in terms of going through the tests and linguistic audit for our students, in terms of getting specific provisions for those who are getting prepared for governmental exam of Polish as a foreign language, either for those who are just making their steps towards PLC exam of Polish, which is needed especially if you are getting to prepare for the university. You would need B2 certificate for that. So the school was growing, and with the time we had more and more students. We decided to separate it from the foundation, and at the time Polish Linguistic Institute has emerged in 2015, so that there was a separate also legal entity in a while, which had accredited mode of the program, which actually had plenty of teachers already involved. Some of them are working with us like 13 years by now, so it's a long story of our cooperation, and with the years of work they've gained plenty of experience, plenty of nice provisions of how could they attract more students, how they can keep them motivated, how they can track their progress, and how can they support them at different stages of development. We have tried to make our authors course, and that is already in the program. We differentiate between Slavic groups, which have different speed from international groups, because there we take the people who have no Slavic origin, who have not been speaking any Slavic languages before, and for many people who don't know Slavic languages, it's a great challenge to be in the same group with them. So we have decided to separate those two, and that's why those groups have slightly different tempo of courses. With the COVID, we have provided online and offline classes. So online classes are growing, and we have people from not just Warsaw and not just Mazovian Voivodeship, but also all over Poland, and some of them are elsewhere in the world. Some of them are, for example, in Indonesia, getting prepared for their work in Poland to speak some basic Polish language before they arrive. We also have some policemen in United Kingdom who have been learning Polish in order to do their job in London. We have people who are motivated to learn Polish because they have their Polish roots, and they're, for example, from Brazil. So that's also a story of people. We had some people who are professors at universities, and they came to our teachers to work on their Polish proficiency in order to teach Polish back in Australia. So those are very, very different people, and many of them are very untypical in terms of what we would expect from the language school, because those are just not just particular students who are like daytime students of universities, and in the evening they come for the courses. Some of our students are even over 80 years old, and they're still progressing in learning Polish. Others are just to turn 18, and they're making their steps, very intensively, because they just need to pass the exam by February. And that's the huge motivation they have right now, to learn Polish on a daily basis, like 5-6 hours per day. Some of them are joining the groups, others are taking individual classes, which is also available online or sometimes in school as well. We have authors courses, which are focusing on phonetics, or some of them which are focusing on writing. There are groups which are helping people to maintain their grammar good enough to pass the exams, so because that's often a trouble if you've been learning Polish on your own or just with Duolingo, so you don't really get the principles of the grammatics, and that's one of the important tasks during the exam. There is also a Polish course, like Poland in a nutshell, where we try to present like what is specific about Poland everyone needs to know about before arriving here. Actually, it's better if you know it before arriving, but once you're already here, you also have to be conscious of that, so as to know what is particular about Poland and what are the specific sides of Poland, to get to know if you come from different countries. So we are trying to compare Poland to other countries and other nations, depending on like different areas, like media freedom, economic development, demographics, labor market. So we're trying just to show where the Poland is at different types of developmental processes, also highlighting the history, highlighting the social situation, helping people to find out more about the legal provisions in force. So there are many practical aspects as well. And beyond the teaching, it's also examination center. Since 2020, Polish Linguistic Institute is running Polish language exam of Polish as a foreign language, starting from B1 level up to C2 level. We are having those exams 4 times per year. And we are also TLC examination center, which enables people to make it a bit quicker with the certification process, because it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get the certificate. And actually that's sufficient for submitting for long-term residency already. So many foreigners start from that, and later on they go to the governmental, to the state exam, which is a bit harder to pass, so it takes longer to learn and to get prepared. And the school is actually a very comprehensive place, because that's working as an ecosystem to support foreigners in Poland. So it's not just a school in terms of having classes there, but that's also the place where one can get the health insurance in order to feel safe and healthy in Poland. It's also the place where one can get legal advice in terms of how to maintain residency and how to plan the future for the upcoming years, take into account all the provisions. It's also the place for networking and activities. For example, we're having chess classes or aquarelle meetings, like for networking, to make people meet each other and to connect. And that's actually happening even without the events, because we are having the coffee machine and a nice reception area, so people are sitting there all around, and that's quite a happy time of meeting people. And then we are situated at Mazowiecka Street, which is full of bars and cafes, and they just after they finish the classes, they're having lots of meetups. And I think that really works for our students, because that's how they maintain their relationships as well. So it's just about networking for both very friendly purposes, also for the work connections. For many of them, that's the way to meet the families with the kids, so they can also maintain contacts not just between the students, but between the full families. And that's the way to maintain the first connections while in Poland, to make it a bit easier to complain about the things which are happening here, to find somebody who is in a similar situation and probably already knows some life hacks of how to get out of that and how to proceed further. So that's the place we are going to maintain in a very similar mode later on. Recently we have gone through the kind of a small reconstruction within our office, so we are trying to make it as cozy and comfortable for our students as it's possible. And the other thing we are getting prepared this autumn is that we are having a new, really digitalized web page platform, which will make it easier to find out which group to join. I think within a couple of weeks we're going to announce the web page, and then it will be easier to find out what's your language level and which group you should take in. We are taking care about the students through their whole process of education. So if, for example, our student maintains their legal stay through the courses, we're also supporting with an application form for temporary residence card, so that our students feel confident of the time they plan for school and beyond that, so that they're sure about accomplishing all the conditions to obtain their residence cards. So that's with the work we do.
Gwinea, wow, it sounds like much more than just a school. Absolutely, an institution, a center, an ecosystem, as you said, for people to find not just information, support courses, but also to be heard. A lot of people think they just want to share with someone that is empathetic, or find people that maybe are struggling with the same things, and have a community and feel like they are part, they belong somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's incredible. We have something special here. You brought us.
Yes, have a look. First of all, I want to invite everyone just to see us on the 21st of October. We are going to have an open day at Polish Linguistic Institute. So I would probably share the note on the Facebook of IMI Radio. And I also have brought the gift certificate, which is a voucher for a language course at our institute for the upcoming trimester, starting from October 2024, so as to enable one of our listeners to join the courses at Polish Linguistic Institute. And I would be happy to hand it to the person who would motivate his or her reasons to learn Polish. So I would like to encourage everyone just to share their opinions and to say why actually you are going to learn Polish. And please hashtag Polski Instytut Językowy so that we have an insight into that. And I think Miguel would be the one who would be in position to handle this voucher to the person who would be most persuasive.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, comment on the Facebook page. Go there, IMI Radio, as a listener, and get the chance to win, to be part of the institute, to win this module of Polish language. And yes, we're bringing prizes to our listeners. This is special, a great opportunity for you to be part of this ecosystem that Gwinea was talking about, of the Polish Linguistic Institute. Go there and comment and be part of this community and in this special initiative. Gwinea, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to say to our listeners? Maybe something I didn't ask? What a pleasure to have you here, by the way. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. That's nice to be invited, and I'm always happy to share the news about what our plans and what we're actually doing, because I think we have helped quite a lot of people to step into Warsaw and further on to make their further steps into Poland with more confidence, with more, with less troubles, I believe, in the way, and probably which help them to avoid certain misleading situations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your work. I'm pretty sure you affected so many lives, and we hope that we are able to also affect your life, of the listener, and maybe find a place to find some information, to know that you are not alone. And thank you so much for everybody. This was Miguel on the radio today, the 3rd of September. We'll be back next week on Wednesday, and we hope to have you there as well. You have a wonderful day, wonderful evening. Saying goodbye from IMI Radio. Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.